Welcome, everybody, to our inaugural show. Kevin Rouch, along with the Hall of Famer, Ray Corbett. And we are super excited to bring some new information out there with what we're going to try to do. And Ray, we're going to start out today talking to a couple of coaches, guys that you know, guys that may join you in the Hall of Fame at some point down the road.
We are going to talk to a couple guys. Greg Nossaman of Olentangy Liberty, who once again has a great season going on. They're going to be a very difficult out in terms of the league championship, as well as when we get into district play come February. And then Jeff Warstler off to a phenomenal start again at Columbus Academy. Jeff seems to, I just happened to see online the other day, he's in his 13th year of coaching, and he's already won 200 games. And then the person we didn't mention that we're going to have on board, Zach Fleer from 270 Hoops. I mean, wow, what a guy to have be part of our program.
Ray and I know each other because my family was lucky enough to have 3 of my sons play for Ray at Grandview. But I was lucky enough to be able to broadcast games for Grandview in those days and get to know Ray very well and know where his heart was. I've noticed that palm tree sitting out there, and I've driven around Central Ohio now for years, and I have yet to see one. So you must be someplace else.
Well, the beauty of retirement allows you the flexibility. This is our second year of not coaching basketball. And so we have a little place down south, down here by Cape Coral. And I'm sitting here looking at a canal. I just saw a boat go by. And I know that we've only been down here for a couple days, but I left snow in 25-degree weather. And I've got my Jimmy Buffett Boston Red Sox combo shirt on right now and a pair of shorts. And I'm out on my lanai, not a screen-did porch, mind you. It is a lanai. So make sure you get it straight up there, Ohio. This is the way we chat down here in Florida.
You know what? You won over 500 games. I am not gonna, And I do have to tell you, it's fun now to introduce you as a Hall of Fame coach because you were just named not so long ago that you were going to be inducted into the Ohio Hall of Fame. That's got to be a thrill, man.
Oh, you don't. Again, there's certain things you don't get into it for anything like that. You get into it because, I did anyways, because I wanted to be around kids. I love the game of basketball. I grew up in a family of 7 boys, and we were competing all the time. And I had an older brother who, once I got to about my junior year in high school, he became sort of the surrogate parent, the dad. And Dale did a lot to steer me in this direction. I can't thank him enough for it. And then, sometimes things work out. And landing in Grandview after being around Chuck Kemper at Worley High School and watching the things that he did as a coach and the things that he established as being really important. Dave Miller, when I was at Worley as well. I was around really good people. I picked the brains of Gene Millard, who I had just tremendous respect for coach. Bob Miller at Worthington when Bob was running that program. But there was just some great people that I was able to learn a lot from. And the thing about basketball, it's evolving. It's always changing. And it's a challenge. And I had so much enjoyment doing what I did. I used to tell my own kids, I told my teams often, I don't feel like I'm going to work. I had a career where I felt like, I'm a pretty happy guy. I'm a fortunate guy. So it worked out well, and somehow things work out for the best on occasion.
We'll get into more about that, but let's get to it, man. Let's go interview some folks and talk about Central Ohio basketball. I'll try real hard not to be jealous that I'm in the basement of a house that is 30 degrees outside in our
Well,
little
it is
basement.
cooling off a little bit. The sun's starting to set.
Yeah.
So, the shorts may have to be I might have to put like a long sleeve tee on. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm feeling really bad for you on your
It's
lanai.
rough.
Okay,
I did not
we're gonna
swim.
wrap up. Say that again. I'm sorry.
See, I did not swim outside today. I will say that.
All right. We'll see if we can get you out there tomorrow. All right. So we're going to go on. We got a couple of coaches coming up. Zach Fleer after that. And then Ray and I may wrap up with a list of his own, and we'll do that right after this. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Kevin Rao, along with Hall of Fame coach Ray Corbett, and joining us now is the head coach at Olentangy Liberty, Greg Nossaman. And Coach, thanks for joining us. It's we're kind of halfway through this thing, but now things are starting to shape up. So I'm going to turn it over to Ray to find all about your squad this year and why you're doing what you're doing.
Sure. So, Coach, just a few things before we get going here. First of all, a career that you've had has just been outstanding. From you've been at the small school level at Ridgedale to Willard. Both of those you had great success, which probably allowed you to move up to Olentangy Liberty. And your teams there have been extremely successful as well. And this season's no different. You stand at this point 6-2, I believe, 2-0 in the league, and what a league it is. We'll talk a little bit about that. But if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about your team. You know what they're all about.
Well, it's probably the tallest team I've had. We go 6'8", 6'7", 6'5", 6'4", and 6-foot point guard who was our leading receiver on our football team that was state champs. So we had to wait for Christian till after they won the state December 6th against Cincinnati Moeller, which was pretty cool. And we played a game without him. We played at Reynoldsburg and at Jerry Watson Ohio deal, and we lost to Lutheran East by 10. And I'd like to play them over again with our full squad. But we've got 3 seniors in the starting lineup, a junior and a sophomore. We bring a couple juniors off the bench, and it's a really tightly knit group. And they know their roles. I think that we haven't played our best basketball yet. We've only been practicing probably 3 weeks with our 2 guards that were on the football team. But we're big. We like to pound it inside, and which is very rare because in the past we just have a lot of guards and we spread you out and run a lot of the Princeton style offense. And now we've had to make some adjustments when you got some bigs in there. So, but teams are starting to zone us. They're starting to pack it in, and we were 2 of 15 from the 3-point line last night, but we shot 60% from the 2. So, it's just you have to make adjustments as a high school coach, as with what you have.
That's phenomenal size. I mean, I can't imagine many high school teams being able to match you. And I looking back, I did a little research and talking to some of the area coaches, D1, who had gone up against you. They talked about you offensively running Princeton, a high post. Yeah. And, you one of your better players is it Tyler Kropp?
Yep.
Who is going to Northwestern, who in the past ran Princeton offense. And for those of you who don't know that style of offense, that calls for a high post player who's very skilled at shooting and passing it. And I'm thinking, okay, this kid's coming from a high school program to Northwestern that runs it. What a beautiful thing. But now you're not. So,
well, we still run it to variations, but when teams are playing zone, we got to do some different things. So, but they still play a little man here and there. We just played Thomas yesterday, and they mixed it up, zone, some man. But when you get a double digit lead and they're still in a zone, well, we're going to bring you out. All right, you come out and guard us, and then we can get into it. So, but Tyler, he's kind of our main focus. He's 6'8". He's about 220 pounds. He's worked out. He's, received a full ride for 4 years to Northwestern. He's a 4.29 ACT. I mean, he's a very smart young man and played overseas in Argentina over the summer. And we kind of do our stuff around him, and then, we'll see how it goes from there.
Let me just ask real quick, what's in the water up there in Liberty Township?
You know what? I think we've got dedicated families. We have really good coaches. I really believe that our coaches are totally into their sports. They put the time in the off season. Like you said, our hockey won it. Girls and boys lacrosse last spring, football. I mean, if you were to see, and I tell this to everybody, if you were to see our football team walk into a gym and go, that's the Division I state champs, the biggest school division in Ohio, you'd lose a lot of money if you bet that they won the state championship. Just hardworking kids who buy into what we're doing. We have some multi-sport athletes, which is good. And it's a good place to be. And a lot of people don't like us, because, it's like when you win, no, just good kids that work hard, and it's just fun to be a part of. And, you may get in and ask me the years and stuff like that. This is my 39th year of coaching, 30 as a head coach. And when are you going to retire? I'm like, I can't follow Ray out, he's already done, but I look forward to maybe doing this down the road someday. But, as we go through it, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy my teaching job. I enjoy coaching there. I enjoy the kids. Why would you want to retire? So.
Well, I tell you right now, following me out the door is going to be difficult, but but I expect you'll be able to pull it off. As for up there at Olentangy, I mean, what a great situation, like you said, and it's just a growing community, and it just seems on the up. Everything's moving in the right direction. You do have great supportive families, from what I've heard. I know your kids are working in it. It's just not you. You've got Olentangy. I mean, if you look at, I put together the Fab Five here of Central Ohio D1 programs, and there are two of them right now in terms of Olentangy, Orange, and you guys in my top 5 programs. And Olentangy itself, the original. And by the way, I just want you to know, when I started, now you want to talk about dating myself. When you were at Ridgedale and I started at Grandview back in the mid 80s, Olentangy, one school playing in not just our league, but our division of our league, the small school division of our league. And now you've got 4 D1 high schools. It's amazing.
Crazy. I know.
Yeah. Talk about popular places.
Maybe a 5th, right? Coming up.
Yeah. It's on the ballot. So
yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So that one would be across the river, right?
No, that's going to be up Sawmill going towards Delaware on Sawmill all the way up to like 42.
Okay.
All the way up those roundabouts.
Yeah.
Probably about the last roundabout, the second to last roundabout. That's where the land's at.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you a few basketball questions, since it's supposed to be about basketball on occasion. All right, we'll break into this. So based on what you said, seems like you like your team right now, where you stand.
Yeah. I mean, our coaches do a great job of bringing everybody together. We've got Jeffrey Reynolds came from Hartley last year, a 6'7" sophomore. He's 15 years old, and he's fitting in. Tyler, like I said, played in Argentina all summer. He wasn't around. So we got a new kid in, not playing with our 6'8" kid. Parker Van Engelhoven is a 6'5" junior who's committed to Louisville for baseball. He's our number 1 baseball pitcher. So he was out playing baseball a lot in the summer. So we're trying to bring him together. Our point guard, who runs the show, is our starting wide receiver, leading Central Ohio in touchdown catches. And he's out doing his thing and win a state championship. Now we're finally coming together. It's January 5th. We've only been together for less than a month. All right. And it takes time. And you know that, right? You've been in it longer than I have. It takes time to build that up, the timing, who to get the ball to, what to do in certain situations. And, I think each game we're getting a little bit better. we went down to Florida and played 3 games, lost to a team from New York, didn't play very well. They were pretty good, but then we beat the #1 team out of Wisconsin the last game by 7. And, this team each day is getting better. And we've got a lot of good games coming up. We go to Kaufman Tuesday, Davidson Thursday, Berlin, and then we got Orange coming in. So that's going to be a special night there. So, but we take one game at a time. We worry about our next opponent. Try to, we look ahead as coaches, but try to keep our kids focused on the task at hand every single night. So
I take it that you would be in favor, and I say this seriously because in a D1 school, and I was in a small school my whole entire coaching career, but here you are in the largest size school in the state of Ohio. I mean, you guys get a little break. Only 64 teams in the state tournament this year. The things they do for the bigger schools in the state, just amazing to me. But that's not important. But you must like the multi-sport athlete.
Yeah. Well, they're learning to win and lose in other programs. They're being coached by other players or other coaches. Sorry, and that if you just have a basketball kid, which we have some of, they hear me all the time, and it's nice to hear from other people, other coaches, and to play with other players that maybe aren't related to basketball. And sometimes you kind of wish you had all basketball players, but that gets old after a while. You like kids to come in and to gel and things like that. So, but I'm a big proponent of multi-sport athletes. And as we get older and you look back on your high school career, it's only 4 years. It's 4 years of your life. And there's so many kids, oh man, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that. And now you can't go back. You can always go to college. It doesn't matter how old you are, but in high school, you got to enjoy your 4 years.
I mean, again, being at Grandview, if you were a good athlete, it was expected you played 2, if not 3 sports.
Right.
And so I always felt like your football kids, if you were able to get them going about 4 to 5 weeks after the end of football, the conditioning is always different. The timing, everything about them, they're just running around with their heads cut off for the first 3 weeks of the year. And so to start getting them back into their groove, and then, you get into this time of the year, now you start making some progress and you start to gel a tad. Right. So let me ask this. This puts you in a sort of unique situation because I think a lot of coaches, when they get to January, they've been going at it hard. November, December, 2 solid months, 8 to 10 weeks already. You, on the other hand, not that way. And based on past few years, this is probably a consistent theme with success your fall sport athletes have. When do you start backing down a little bit and making it different? Like we would start the season with 2.5-hour practices, start cutting it back every month we'd cut 15 minutes off the schedule. We get into February, we're going an hour and a half.
Right.
Is there a time period that you look at and say, hey, this is when we need to shift? Or do you just go, or how do you handle it?
It also depends on how you're playing. What do you really need to work on? Like today, we went in for an hour and 15 minutes because we play on Tuesday. I'm kind of banking on the snow coming in and maybe not having practice tomorrow. And we got to go to Kaufman on Tuesday. So I kind of planned that in looking at the weather. We shot for a half an hour. We went 5-0 through our offense. We went through our man, but we went through our zone offense, put a couple of new sets in for Kaufman, which they haven't seen. So we want to have that in our back pocket.
This won't be out until after your game with Kaufman, so you stay.
They haven't seen it anyway. So, but so as we move into this, we do bring the time down as we move into we're 6-2. We've only played 8 games. A lot of teams have played double digits already. So I would say, we had to go on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, then we start to kind of reel it back once you get to about game 11 or 12, you're midway through your season and things like that. But we don't want to waste time. We just tell them, hey, while you're here for that 2 hours to an hour and a half, let's work hard, keep our timing down off. But we still haven't got to the point where we know everything yet. And one of the football kids is having a hard time remembering certain sets that we're running. Well, you only been here for 3 weeks. So, but we kind of gauge it on, where we're at with everything and how we're playing and we go from there.
Okay. Tom Petty, I don't know if you know Tom. I'm sure you do.
Know Tom.
So Tom used to say, well, I've got an hour and a half practice plan. Now the question is, how long is it going to take for us to get through my hour and a half practice plan?
Right.
So as you said, you got some interesting, you're not ducking the competition. As I looked at your remaining schedule here, you've got Orange, who's arguably the best team in Central Ohio, Toledo St. Francis, Kaufman, who's 8-3, Olentangy 7-3, at UA, and then you get to play. Where do you play the Purple Panthers of Cincinnati? Are you going to the pit?
No, well, they're coming to our place, and then
you've been to that pit.
Oh yeah, yes, I have.
Oh, yeah. I have a nightmare. 0-13. That was my field goal percentage at the pit when I was a senior.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to ever go back there again. Yeah. I won't be able to find the gym.
You got all those boys at the end. In the end.
Oh man, can they chant?
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, you're not ducking in. Now, did you put this together? And again, this is something that I always felt like. Yeah, I think as coaches, we can look down the future a little bit and say, okay, this is a pretty good group we've got. Did you put this schedule together thinking that, hey, this group's pretty special? We want to challenge them?
Well, I've always wanted to play good non-league teams wherever I've been. And just give you a quick.
This league being as difficult as it is.
Right. I mean, the number one goal is to win a league championship. Number two goal is to get to the district championship game. Okay. And if you get that district championship game and you play well, you got a chance. You're in the Sweet 16 now. I've done that my whole coaching career. And just to give you a little tidbit, which you guys probably don't know, I was at Willard High School from 98 to 08. Okay. And in 2002, we played LeBron James and Akron St. V. All right. We had a good team. I convinced the guys that we got a chance to win. Probably didn't have a chance to win. All right. We lost by 51. Okay. And we were 18-2. All right, that year. All right. And that's, I don't, no disrespect towards other programs, but I don't want to play certain teams because it doesn't do any good to win by 30, 35 points. It doesn't. So I don't care about winning and losing. I care about who we play in our non-league games. And that's what we do every year. We bulk it up. I mean, when I was at Willard, we played Laurinburg out of North Carolina. We played a team out of New Jersey. I mean, we like to travel around and play different teams and enjoy it. If we win, yay. If not, it's a loss on our record, but it has nothing to do with our league championship and has nothing to do with our tournament play. But now with the max preps, which is new, okay, that does make a little bit of difference. But we're still, I don't care. If we're the 8th seed, then so be it. We'll get on the board and we'll jump on somebody and go play. You got to beat them. You got to beat them somewhere down the road.
Right.
So that's my philosophy. I just love playing good teams and having good competition. That's what we do.
That's extremely healthy, and your schedule reflects that belief.
Now, Ray, I'm going to jump in because I'm the timekeeper here. So we're about to that point. So if you've got one loaded up, I would do it right now.
All right, I got one loaded up. Golly, I had about 5 of them, but I'm going to stick with one. Okay, so the possibility, here we go, Big Ben. The possibility exists that you could be playing in the Coliseum in the district finals. What's your thoughts about going to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. The last time we played there, we got beaten the district championship game to Northland. Okay, and my son was our point guard back in 13, and I think that was the last time they played in the Coliseum. They shut her down after that.
Turn the lights off.
I imagine the locker room is still the same when we played in there. It was dirty. It was nasty.
Dead spots on the floor.
You got spots on the floor. And I'm hoping they get a new floor in there. Okay. But it is good for the fans. It's good, anybody can come in now. You don't have to fight the crowd and all that stuff. But environment's a lot different. And but nobody's going to have any practice on there. They're just going to go play. But I think for us where we play now with our inside game, it's going to help us down the road where people are shooting threes a lot. It's a different environment. So, but they had to do something. There's just nothing around Columbus to go to, and Dayton and Toledo and Cleveland State and all that stuff. They got those venues, but we don't have it. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, I want to thank you, Coach, for being with us today. And wow, great success already. And you're really just kind of getting started with your group if you're having them all together. So thanks for taking the time today. And hopefully we'll get you back before tournament time.
Yeah. Hey, you guys call me anytime, Kevin and Ray. I love this. I love talking hoops, and Ray's in the Hall of Fame. And I'm the Hall of Fame director, just to let you know. Okay.
Enough said. Hey, Greg Nossaman, thank you so much. And we'll look for Olentangy Liberty. And geez, I mean, you're going to get a crick in your neck looking up at those guys if you come to watch that game. So everybody be ready. But we'll finish there, and then we'll be back with more after this. Back with our second coach this evening, and we're so glad to have him here from Columbus Academy, Jeff Warstler. And Coach, we're about halfway through the season, but for some of us, it feels like just starting because we're just starting this program. So it's going to be brand new for our listeners, but gosh, we want to hear how you're doing it this year. So I'm going to turn it over to Ray to kind of get all the details.
Awesome.
So Jeff, thank you again for coming on board here. We're trying to figure out which way to go with it and such, and having you here adds a lot to it. I just saw, and I was not, don't take this the wrong way, but 13th year, and you were recognized by the State Coaches Association for your 200th win. Is that right?
Yes.
That's a pretty impressive win-loss percentage at this point.
Thanks, Ray. And thank you guys for having me. You know as well as anybody, it's a byproduct of having, good players, guys that can get stuff done. I've been really fortunate to have good guards over the years, so that's helped in that an awful lot.
Your son being one of them.
He was, and as nuts as he drove me at times, he did a lot of great things. So yeah, I was fortunate to have him as well. But we've been really, really blessed with some guys that can play.
Well, and coaching against you over the years, I always felt that your teams were fundamentally as sound as possible. Rarely did you beat yourselves. I mean, you didn't make foolish mistakes, and that's just a consistency. And to be honest with you, that's a consistency that I've seen over the years, being at Grandview for 36 years and playing you guys. It seems like forever. That's a consistent theme. You feel like this team is like that?
We've done things. I mean, well, shoot, Ray, you say that, but I think the first time we played, you beat us 70-40. So that's a.
You get into the phone call that took place after that.
Yeah, but we actually we're doing a lot of the same things we've done. We start every day with about 37 to 45 minutes of fundamentals. Based on what we think we're doing well, what we're not doing well. We still bring all our ball handling stuff, all our shooting stuff. We still zigzag and close out every day. All those things are important to us, kind of part of our culture, and the way we build it. So I feel like this team's just as locked into that stuff. Every kid would like to get into some scrimmage sessions, and we try to do that, but we modify the way we do it. You don't have to spend 2 hours on 5-on-5, so we do, we start with some differences pretty much the same way we started, 10, 11 years ago, 12, 13. We've switched some things over the years. And then if you find something that works, or if I'm talking to one of the guys I seek counsel from, you being a main one of those, and there's something you say, hey, what about this? We'll add some things here and there, but we really we really clamp down on the fundamentals. You know, after the games when we go in for film sessions, you know, we'll watch every turnover, you know, to see, is it fixable? You know, is it something that, you know, that maybe Huddle registered that we weren't so sure was? You know, is it just a matter of committing an offensive foul? You know, what are we doing here? How do we fix these? And we'll have the kids talk them out. You know, what do you see here? You know, Jay, what are you seeing on this? Theo, what are you seeing? Here's what I think. But you're out there and I'm standing over here in a nice shirt. So tell me what you're thinking. So we try really hard to make sure it's hard to win if you turn it over 20 times. And we're kind of really hyper focused on let's keep those turnovers low and give ourselves the best chance every night.
How do you like this group compared to
I really like this group. A lot of these guys, not every one of them, but a lot of these guys I had in 3rd and 4th grade in PE. So I remember these guys when they were little, and we have a little kid thing we do on Sunday, and a bunch of those guys that I had in class back in the day are helping out, being officials in that little kid thing. They had their yellow shirts on. I bring them donuts, and they just have the best time officiating the little kids. So it's been really good. It's a nice mix. We also have a couple kids that came in. You know, I think Anderson came in 6th grade, and then Caden and Ray came in as freshmen. So we've got a nice mix of kids, but these are it's a good group. These are nice kids. They're easy to root for. That's probably the best way to say it.
good? One class dominate? Are you senior dominated, or what do you have?
We have 7 seniors, and
That's
you
a
know,
lot, brother.
those guys, Theo, MJ, you know, Theo's been playing since his freshman year when Henry got hurt, and Henry Ruby. And then MJ played a little bit that year and got hurt, and then he's been with us all throughout sophomore, junior. Harmon Goon's been in there for the whole mix. Cole Spalding's, you know, been a little bit injury plagued for us, but he's been a part of it the whole time. You know, it's nice that these guys have kind of come up through the system, got to see what it's all about. Theo was the only one that didn't get any JV quarters throughout that. He started with varsity pretty much right away. The rest of these guys have come up through our JV, so they got John Exline's counsel, you know, coming through, which has been, you know, really helpful because he's awfully fundamentally focused as well. So we feel like by the time they get to us, they're truly ready. It's a fit group. It's honestly, it's an easy group to coach, and they're smart. Yeah, kids are smart.
If we came out to see y'all play, what are we looking for? Just kind of real quick, just on the offense and defense. What are you running this year? Or has it changed at all from past year?
You know, Kevin, if you didn't see good defense, then the guys and I would have an interesting talk the day after you said you didn't. So that's probably, you know, when we started this, it was all DDRT, which I didn't make up. John Thompson did that with Georgetown. It says defense, discipline, rebounding, and toughness. And defense is our moniker. And that's where we spend most of our time. You know, we talk ad nauseum about single-digit quarters, you know, what we're going to do to shut people off. You know, we're primarily man-to-man. You know, we'll throw in some zone here and there. But I would hope the first thing you would walk away from would say, God, man, those guys can D people up. That would be my first thing. And I'm not even convinced. This group might be the most talented group I've had offensively. I imagine Ray watched us this summer, and I imagine he's seen all of them. So I imagine he would probably be in the ballpark of agreeing with me. That and the 19 team would be what the other one that might be there. But defensively, I feel like we're close. But we played 8 games, you know, so we've got a little bit of time to fix them. That would be the first thing. And then the second thing I would want you to say is they're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to turn it over. You're going to have you might beat them, but you're going to have to beat them. And that's if you walked away with those 2 things, you know, this is a disciplined group, you know, who can really defend. I'd feel pretty good about it, regardless of whatever the result was.
Yeah,
I would say that would be the hallmark of what I've seen from your program. For a long time, and you know, the best thing about that, Jeff, is it doesn't get into your ability to jump, sprint. You know, it does. I mean, it gets into your kids being disciplined enough to do the things they need to do to win, to be successful. And you know, we talked about that after the first time that you and I went at each other, and we had a good day against you. That was probably the only time that ever happened, by the way.
No.
But the bottom line is your teams and academy teams, and it seems like this is the way it is in all the sports there. That's a consistency. So,
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And hopefully that can continue. I think the kids are sold on that. You know, it's not that we wouldn't go up and down. You know, I get a lot of if a shot clock came in and I'm like, yeah, look, guys, it's not like we're holding the ball 40 seconds every time we come down the court. You know, it's like we can, if a shot clock comes in, we can make adjustments to that, you know, and I like the fact that if we want, we're like, we can go a little bit, you know, and when you have Jason Singleton and Theo Falkenhayn and Caden Ivory out front, you know, with Anderson and MJ and Gabe Davis, right? You know, you can go and we can always bring it back. But, you know, it's funny. We'll go and then you can almost feel them say, hey, let's settle. Let's make sure we get into something. You know, let's run it through and then we can come back around it. You know, we may, I mean, if you watch this moment, you may say, you guys still dribble a little much. And I'll be like, yeah, we do. Yeah, but it's a team that's sold on to what, I mean, they've just kind of like ridden that culture wave a little bit. That culture word gets used a lot, and I understand that. I just can't think of a better word. But they've kind of ridden into that wave to say, hey, this is how we do things here. You know, it'll take care of itself. Other guys will talk to other guys, say, if you're not going to defend, he's not going to play you. If you're not in shape, he's not going to play you. You know, they talk to each other, and it kind of builds down the line. So when guys get here, you know, they know the expectation of what it takes, you know, to get out on the floor.
okay, so you're 7-0 right now.
8, actually. We beat Briggs yesterday.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
8. You know what? I've got that on my spreadsheet. I've got the top 5 in each of the 7 divisions.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not sure if we'll have time to chat about that, but still, Division 5 is loaded. It is a gauntlet. And, you know, I'm sitting there and I've got you guys. I got Reedy as the number 1 team in the area. They're 11-0. They've beaten some pretty solid programs. I've got you too, but Afrocentric and Harvest Prep. And then you look at like Fairbanks.
They're undefeated.
No, they're 10-1 now.
Oh, they lost one.
They lost. All right. Then so they're 10-1. You got Fredericktown that's like 8-2. I mean, there are 6 or 7 really good teams, but I still think the top 4 are a notch above everything else to get out. What are your thoughts about well, let's go with the league first. We'll go small, then we'll go large. So what's your thoughts of the league? You got Reedy coming up here soon, next week.
Saturday. Yeah, we play Kip Friday night, and then we play Reedy on Saturday.
And you did that on purpose.
What, the Buckeye game? I know it's like, or do you mean like just it lined up that way, and it's fine. It really, you know, it's we'll treat that the way we would treat anything else. So we've done that in the past. I mean, when you and I played, you know, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, you know, it's like I mean, you played on Friday nights and Saturday nights a lot. You know, it's not any new concept. So it's going to be what's going to be. But back to your original point, you know, my wife and I were talking about this in the car, and I try not to talk just like you would with Martha. I try not to talk tons. I know she hears a lot about it, but I was like, you could potentially, whatever you want to say the record would be, whatever. You maybe win 19 games, maybe win 20, maybe we win 18, 21, lose a couple games to a dynamite team like Reedy, then lose again to a dynamite team like Reedy or Afrocentric in the district final, have like a 21-2, 21-3 season, and I don't want to say have nothing to show. That's ridiculous, but
open palm.
Right. And you're second here and you're second there, or you're third here, you know, so it's like it's at least in your mind, you know. I think Reedy's great. You know, I got obviously film is everywhere. So you've got it, you watch it, they're great. It'll be a heck of a matchup on Saturday night. You know, I hope to think that goes either way, you know, but that's probably at the moment where it comes down to, I think Franklin Heights is sneaky good and could beat anybody. We scrimmaged them this summer, and I think Tony Rice makes a monster difference. And it'll be that's an interesting game. And then you've got teams that can catch you. That Buckeye Valley game on Friday night, we're up 29-28 with 6:50 to go in the third quarter, and then we ran out on them a little bit. Whitehall, gets a win over Buckeye Valley. Buckeye Valley goes and houses Franklin Heights. All these scores in the league are just like it always is. You look at them, you're like, huh. So you can get caught on some of those things, but that Reedy matchup certainly, that's a major one. And you're playing two of them. So
First one yours or their place?
First one's at our place. Saturday's at our place, and then we don't play them again until that mid-February, right at the end of the season. So we finish Reedy Saturday night, and then we go to Franklin Heights on Tuesday. So that's a nice little, quick run right there.
But it's, what? How many kids? And I'm just going through. What's your depth like? How many guys?
Our depth's good. This is the deepest team. We had that team in 18 that we started 17-0, and we went 5 for 5 for the first, 14, 15 games of the season, and then kind of started to filter through there trying to figure out who was who. And we don't really run 5 for 5, but this is at least as good as we've had depth-wise. It's like anything else. If the wrong kid got hurt, it's a major issue, but we do have, if we get foul trouble or if somebody doesn't come out with the requisite amount of energy, there are guys sitting on the side saying, Coach, I'll do it. So, we have that. And the practice competition has been off the charts. That's where it's paid the biggest dividend, is these guys are excited to get after each other. And it makes me want to hand off a little more 4-on-4, 5-on-5 type stuff when hey, we can get at each other a little bit. And that's been a major blessing for us, is just having the ability to go at each other at practice.
I've coached on both ends where, and of all things, Kevin has witnessed both sides of this, where, the year we went to the Final Four, I made my first substitution with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Yeah. We just weren't deep. Simple as that. And then Kevin's son, Casey, played on a team where we were rotating, and I had 10 kids averaging 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes a game. We were flying bodies in and out. So I've been on both sides. I know that, or I felt like the kids enjoyed, and it just makes sense.
Yeah, the point I was going to is, you adjusted styles based on the fact of whether or not you were playing 5-6 versus playing 9-10 that were averaging 10 minutes. With pressure and things like that. And it does, we trap more now than we've ever trapped. And we know if we commit one at half court that we shouldn't commit, and it's a guy's second and it's still the first quarter, we can live with it because we know we've got a guy behind and we can sub. So it definitely plays in your mind, if you're only playing 5, I don't know. I don't want to say become more careful, but maybe a touch, you think about things a little bit more, it's so having the ability to know, hey, look, if Jay or Theo or AD or one of those guys picks up a couple, we can make it, we can get a guy in there, and still do, the same kinds of things we would like to do. So it definitely, and I noticed that in watching that film, you've been very good with me over the years, giving me CDs and now huddle films and things like that. So I know, that's what made me think of it when you brought it up.
The other thing we were able to take advantage of, I guess, if that's the right way of phrasing it. You're going to have injuries, you're going to have sickness, you're going to have those types of things. And that next man up philosophy seems a lot easier when you're playing those kids to begin with than it is if, hey, this kid's been sitting down at the end of the bench all year long, and all of a sudden one of your ponies goes down. Now he's got to go in, and he's not used to quality minutes. So it pays a lot of dividends when you're able to go deep and get those kids meaningful minutes throughout the year, it seems.
No question. I go back and forth. There's still moments where I'm like, Is 7 the number? Is 8 the number? And then you look down there, you're like, God, that kid's been working his tail off. He competes really close with whoever it is. I got to find something for him, and it just all of a sudden it makes it, I don't know. I don't know that there is a number, that we would say it's got to be this, but it helps with matchups. If we want to go big, we can go big. And we haven't been able to say that every year. We can go big. If we want to go small, we can go a little smaller, a little quicker. So that helps. And like you said, it's a lot better when you're not looking down the bench and you call a guy's name and he points at himself like, and then says, "Is he talking to me?" It's like, so if they kind of know, like, hey, look, get involved. Why? Make sure you're locked in on the game because your number's coming up. It does, like you said, it keeps everybody kind of on edge and pulsing and more engaged.
Ray, I was gonna just kind of spin back to the division structure now. Coach, how has that changed your thinking looking at the postseason?
I like overall having 7 divisions. If there are more 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds that get to celebrate winning something, fine by me. If they're handing out more trophies and there are more kids in the city that get a chance to do that, count me in. I'm all on board for that. For us, I think what it eliminates, I don't want to, the word's not fluff really, but a lot of times you got a real high seed, and we were the number 1 seed last year by computer. We were not the best team. I want to be clear about that, and Ray could corroborate that. He probably won't because he's nice, but we weren't. But
nice.
Yeah. So we had you would normally get 2 home games. Generally speaking, these are games you feel really good about going into. That's gone. Now you could walk yourself into an opening game with somebody who's 15-7, 16-6, who can beat you on that first night. And it's almost got that NCAA tournament vibe now, where if you're all your T's aren't crossed, and I's dotted walking into it, you get beat. And that second game is a banger, right? Right off the bat. If you get through that first one, no matter who you are, that second game, that's the real deal. So it kind of advances everything up one level. You're playing district semi games that look like finals. You're playing finals that look like regional semis. That's how I've viewed it since I looked at what Division 5 was.
Now, Kevin, I just got to bring this point to you that Jeff's been known to be a little bit of a Lou Holtz kind of.
I can't even believe you.
That everybody, all the opponents are the best ever.
I just heard there was a chorus behind me, and it was just all going Lou. I've been accused of that by him. That's why I get to bring it up.
Yeah,
all right, we get beat early. We're coming back on this podcast and revisiting this moment.
You got 16 teams here. Okay. Mm-hmm. I've got your bracket in front of me. Not the bracket, but I got the 16 teams that are Division 5 in Central Ohio. Because what people don't understand, most people, I'd say about 90% don't understand anything about the RPI voting and all the things that are going to take place here. But your strength of schedule, and let me ask you that. Where do you think when we look at the 4 or 5 teams that are all going to be the big boys, does your strength of schedule say that you were able to get through that thing? Let's say instead of being undefeated, let's say you split with somebody in the league. And so you end up 21-1. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, hypothetical case, not putting it on your back. All right. But say you're 21-1. You think that RPI is going to have you above maybe an Afrocentric that's going to be, like they've lost one, they might lose a couple more because and I don't know if the city league is tougher than our league or not. I don't know, but still, I know Harvest Prep is playing everybody in the country.
Yeah, I think you know me well enough to know that I don't look at a lot of that stuff way out in advance. I get caught like before we came on, I was watching Kip, and that's just the way my
That's
mind
correct.
works. Because it's back to back, I'm sure, I'll start to dive a little into Reedy while we're doing Kip. But my gut said, like, we don't say no. If somebody wants to play, we'll play.
You do.
Playing in Jerry Watson's thing at the beginning of the year and catching Dunbar, I don't know if this is the best. It's not the best Dunbar team of all times for sure, but hope that helps. Stivers is solid. We have New Lexington coming up in that battle of the 614.
How are they?
They're good. They're good. That league has Maysville, and
Yeah.
Maysville's dynamite, and Lex is second behind Maysville. So
Okay. All right.
we'll see. We'll see how that all comes out. Like I said, if somebody wants to play, we play. The only thing we won't do is I won't cancel the middle of a 2-year contract. We'll go out a 2-year contract, but I'm willing. If somebody said, if Tony Steinberg said he wanted to play, we play. It just, I'm not going to say no to that stuff. I'm good to play it, but I don't know. I don't know. I like our schedule, but I'm not sure how that's all going to come out. And sometimes I look at those rankings and I'm like, I'm not exactly sure, when I look at it, like, it's so hard because it's a dive into it's your record, your opponent's record, opponent's records. I don't know how deep you can go to really see how good someone really is. I don't know. And then you have the thing you can't control, which is how good your league really is. I would think any win over Franklin Heights would be a good one.
Yeah.
I would think Buck Valley wins are good wins, and if you know Andy, you know how they play. It's a good win, but it doesn't always match up record wise. I can't answer that. I would hope it would go favorably. I'm cool with whatever we get. Like I said, we got the one last year. And, when you go to those meetings at the end of the year, our names are up there, but our heads aren't up there. And you're sitting there as the one, I'm shaking my head. I'm like, we're not the one, and I thought had Mike Bates jumped right on us instead of jumping on North Union, I'm like, this is going to be a problem, if he comes in. So it's, you're kind of at the whim. If we're not one, that's okay too. If we're in somewhere else and we have to,
we'll have to play them anyways.
But it's just so hard to know, where it all stands. It's not like the NBA or like college ball where you've got everything and you got a million people analyzing it and you can kind of see it. It just, it'll be interesting and styles make fights. How you match up with certain people, and things like that. But I know that Reedy game is going to be something else, and I know we got to do it twice. We got to do it twice, and then but. When I hadn't thought about it a whole heck of a lot, other than what I'd said to Sarah earlier. But then when you brought up those teams earlier, I'm like, shoot, that Division 5 district.
It's a gauntlet.
That's something else. That's something. And then even when you get out, aren't Richmond Heights and Lutheran East, aren't these teams all 5 as well? I think,
Richmond Heights is playing. I've got Division I teams in Central Ohio, and I've got like nice wins that they've had, quality wins. And Richmond Heights is like a big game for them.
Oh yeah,
that's a nice solid win to beat Richmond Heights. And I'm like, dudes are like Division 20.
Yeah,
and yet they're playing with Division I talent.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's why they get games like that.
Yeah,
that is that amount of talent. So, but it's going to be something for sure.
Well, I don't mean to cut us off, but we kind of reached that point today, and gosh, we could just keep talking, which just means we're going to have to get you back on here, Coach. So
I'd love to. This has been great, and Ray's been so good to me over the years. So I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So just getting a chance anytime I get a chance and to see him, it's great. And Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And again, we'll look forward to, I hope the run keeps on going for you, and we'll look to see you down the road. We want to thank Jeff Warstler for coming on with us today. Thanks, Coach, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back to the program. Kevin Rao here along with Ray Corbett. And joining us now, and we are super lucky to have him here, is Zach Fleer of 270 Hoops. And it's not just 270 Hoops, it's a bunch of other stuff all around town, social media, websites, and his support of local teams, especially his beloved West Cowboys. But we're just lucky he has as much knowledge about high school sports and especially high school basketball as anybody around town. So we're very lucky that we have him here today. Ray, I think I've thanked him. I'll thank him again before it's all over because it is special to have him. But I'm going to let you take the helm here with Zach.
All right. So Kevin, you're right. We are thrilled to have Zach. He is a leader, if not the leader, in Central Ohio boys basketball. You caught me off guard just a hair there when you start talking about the Cowboys from West High, because being a West Sider myself, West Side is the best side, as we all know.
Correct.
All right. When I was in grade school, I walked to school listening to the West High marching band. They were phenomenal. They marched in the Rose Bowl often. They were just unbelievably talented group of musicians. And so I've got to ask you, Zach, what is your connection with the Cowboys?
It's a family connection going back multiple generations. Great grandparents on both sides, mom's side and dad's side, were West graduates. My mom was a West graduate. My grandpa on each side. Well, my grandpa was a Bishop Reedy alum, but grandma West alum on my mom's side. Grandparents were West alums. Just something I've always been connected to. I live on the hilltop now. Like Ray was talking about, on Friday nights I can hear the band from my backyard. So, it's just a place that it's very special to me. Always has been. Just kind of that family heritage, and then living here now, just being in the community. I coached baseball at West back in 2023, and I was able to do that this past year. But I just have a special connection with that school, with the community, but especially I got to thank Principal Daniel Roberts at West High School. When I was coaching at West, I reached out to him, was just interested in getting into education. Didn't know what that route might look like because I went to college for communication. I didn't go for teaching, and he walked me through how to get a license post baccalaureate. And now I'm teaching. I originally thought it would be at West. Things didn't end up working, the way I thought they would originally. But I'm teaching at Northland now. But I owe Dr. Roberts all the credit because he was the one that made the connection for me at Northland to get hired there. So just big time connection, big time love for West High School, and then even coaching there just for a single year was really special for me. So just love the school, and I was there last night actually for their game against Eastmore. So it was good to be back in that tiny gym of theirs. And
I was going to say, what a gymnasium that is.
It's probably the most unique gym in the country. I mean, there's not another gym probably anywhere in America that has the same floor plan.
Yeah. I thought East was unique, but they've done away with East and the stage there. Mifflin was unique in its way of doing things, and that's relatively. I mean, I think they've got a newer facility. But they have not done that at West yet. Now, I got to refresh your memory, and I know this won't be a memory of yours, but I'm going to make a lot of people at Bishop Reedy real happy. Being a Silver Knight grad in 1975, let me remind you, is it Magley Field?
Correct.
Over the West High School Cowboys. My boy Tim Radish, the golden toe, as we called him, kicked a 39-yarder at the buzzer to beat the Cowboys that night. And for some reason, the Cowboy fans were not happy as the Silver Knights boarded the bus to head on over, crossing Sullivan Avenue to get home. It was a heartbreak hotel for the Cowboys, and we were able to wear the crown that evening. So
Now see, Ray, I butter him up.
I butter him up.
No, I love the history.
Right,
I mean,
okay,
I got this book from the library. I forget the name of it, but it's basically like a West High School football encyclopedia. So I think I've heard that story. I was reading about that West and Reedy rivalry back in the 60s.
It's great. We play guys every year.
Because it was before, I mean, it was before Briggs was really a thing. So I guess that
Yeah.
probably was the West rival at that time.
Yeah, the whole West Side was it, and then my senior year in high school, we didn't play West, we played Franklin Heights. They had Larry First, who was, he got drafted by the Dodgers, made it
Wow.
quite high in their organization before he got out, but he was a phenom athlete, all state basketball as well. We did not, Central was phased out about that time. They were starting to shut it down. Uh, these were all the schools. I was on the border. I would have, had I gone public, I would have been a Cowboy. And half the friends I had back then were Cowboys. Kenny Odom and guys like that, just great guys. West won the state my senior year in baseball.
75.
And oh my lordy, his name escapes me. I know Thrush, Rake, Odom had graduated, but who was the pitcher? Steve Probst. We played them first opening day that year, and it was about 40 degrees out with wind, and Probst hit our leadoff hitter, and he threw the ball about 88. And from that point on, we all went Charlie Lau. We were sitting in the back of that box. We didn't want anything to do with Probst. And he threw BBs and just shut us down like nobody's business. So that was my fun time at West High School that year. So you got us in football. We got you in football. You got us in baseball. There you go. So
well, I as sort of the MC of this production, let me bring us a couple of years forward. And Zach, again, 270 hoops is kind of a standard now of how to watch the highlights of especially of a basketball game, but certainly other sports as well. But that allows us to really get a flavor for it. What made you start it? What made you think it would, or did you think it would reach the heights that it has?
I never thought it would ever get this way. I mean, I started it, honestly, it was like an accident. I was a sophomore. I'd always wanted to be a sports writer growing up. My great grandpa, Bob, 1948 alum of West High School, was 47. Let me not age him that much. 1947 alum, but he was a sports writer when he was in college at Ohio State and always had a passion for it. And that was something that I think was passed down to me. And my sophomore year in college, because I went to Central Crossing High School, that's where I went. But I had a couple friends that had from my neighborhood that had transferred to Westland, and at that time Westland was pretty good. This is a 2012-2013 season. They'd started off, I think, 4 or 5-0, and I had, a free night because I was working the job at that time. I had free Friday night, and I was like, I'm gonna go see them play. So I went up and watched Westland play at Thomas Worthington, and had a buddy from high school. His younger brother was the starting point guard for Westland, and his older brother had played football at Findlay, so he wasn't able to come down for that game. And he just asked me, "Hey, can you keep me updated on how Shawan does or how Kiwan does?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll send tweets on my Twitter account. I'll just post the score every quarter." And that's literally how I started covering basketball. I went to that game and found like, man, I really love doing this, and just kept covering that same Westland team all the way through their run to the district semifinals. And then when they were eliminated, I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to cover some other schools, and covered the tournament all the way from that point. And then leading into that summer, just start covering some AAU ball. And then that next year, 2013-14 is when I'd say it's like my first year, like kind of branching out and covering the area. And then 270 Hoops was developed 2015, 2016, because I'd worked for a different site that was a subscription, based site. They wanted me to go to specific areas where our subscribers were, and didn't want me to cover, the whole area, especially the Columbus City League. They kind of discouraged me from doing that. And I was just like, that's not my passion. Like I quickly discovered when I was doing it, like, you can help a lot of kids through it, especially ones that maybe don't have the resources or the connections or the experience in their family of, going the college route, and basketball can be, an avenue for them. So when that was kind of going down, I decided like, I think it's time to start something new. So Jason Morrow and we both went to high school together, equally had, the same type of passion for high school basketball. We started 270 Hoops. And I remember when I pitched the idea to him, he originally like didn't like it. And I was like, I'm gonna make you like it. Like Google 270 hoops right now. And we Googled it and there was like nothing that popped up. I think Google was like, did you mean this? And I was like, boom, there we go. I said, when we start this, we're gonna own social media. We won't have to pay for that. We won't have to pay for, SEO, trying to get our name to the top of the search list. Like that'll be there. And if this develops like I think it can, every time you're driving on the highway somewhere, when you see that interstate sign, they're going to start to think of us instead of just the highway. And then that's just free advertising all over Columbus. That's always going to be there. So I never thought it would get to this point, but I think especially for, young creators and people that are getting into it, like if you have a passion for what you're doing, you truly love it and you're using it to help people. I think that'll be rewarded, and it gives you the fuel you need to keep going, because, you're going to be tired and there's going to be times that, maybe you don't want to keep going, but if you remember why you do it, I think that helps you, get through and continue on. So I'm in year 13 now covering local basketball. And every single year, my wife will tell you, like, when it gets around Thanksgiving time, like I'm ready to go. I'm super excited. And when it gets to about January now, I start getting a little tired, but I start getting selective about the games that I cover at this point in the season, but it's just something I love. And, it's just been blessed to see it grow like it has.
Let me just, before I give it to Ray, to ask about kind of currently what's going on around town. I just know I was surprised that CBUS Sports was available as well. And, it's kind of, so you and I have that in common. One other thing that we have in common, since we do a lot of photography and, we've done a little video here and there, you and I know that the price of equipment has come down, but it is still a major, to take on and keep up with the tech, whether it's online stuff or the way you take video or pictures or whatever you're doing. It's an investment. You kind of feel like you're riding the tiger. You're kind of afraid to get off, because it is such an equipment laden thing. How are you guys doing with that? You're lucky. You got a lot of really good young folks out there that know how to run everything and get the best. But I got to imagine that's a bit of a challenge, like it is for us.
Yeah. Because when I started, I was just a writer. So I didn't start doing videography till like 2019. Because I just seen, I was seeing like where sports media was heading. It was around that same time, like Fox Sports literally got rid of like all articles. They were doing only digital media. So I'd made a decision, like, yeah, I kind of want to get into this and see how it goes, and really love it. Like I've seen now, especially when it comes to like helping players get recruited, college coaches will see a video and react to that much faster than just a write-up. Because when they can see it instead of just trusting whatever someone's saying, it really makes an impact. But yeah, for us, equipment definitely. I am on my second camera now. Been using it for, I think this is my fourth season. But constantly, looking for the next best lens or whatever. But luckily found a really good one, and I've been using that for about 3 or 4 years now. But constantly though, like making sure your camera settings are correct and just doing the little things that most people have no idea about to get the best type of content quality. Like that's something I definitely am always looking to learn from. And we luckily have a lot of people on our staff that really know a lot about it. So I've been using my camera for 4 years now, but I'm still kind of an idiot when it comes to some of the settings. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to change that. Can you help me? And luckily I got some guys that know what they're doing. So
good. That's great. All right, Ray.
All right. Well, Zach, I'm not sure if this is beating your drum, make you feel good or whatever, but this is a true story. When Lukey Lachey was playing for me, I was in contact with a number of D1 coaches. And by the way, I was the idiot who thought that I'm like Michael Jordan's coach back when he was. I didn't cut Luke, but I told him, I tried to convince him that basketball was a route to take. And then he ends up going to Iowa and starting for 4 years as a tight end. So not exactly a great eye for talent in all sports, I guess. But one of the coaches I was in contact with says, and this was Lukey's junior year, is anyone around there seen Luke so I could call independent instead of just talking to you, coach? And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, well, what about Zach Fleer from 270? And I went, wait a second. You're going to ask me if Zach Fleer from 270 has seen my player play? And at that point, I realized Zach Fleer's become somewhat influential in this area. So I think that was a feather in your cap that you were thought of or currently thought of the same way as someone who has a clue to what's going on in a basketball world here.
Yeah, I think I'd seen Luke probably 20 times by that point. So
yeah.
Barry, him and Brian Collier, what a duo. I love watching those guys. They were so fun. It was like the Stockton and Malone of the MSL at that time.
Yeah, I was really a bright coach back then. I knew how to get those two guys the ball, and everybody else, you guys just get away.
That's right.
Let's let those two take care of it. So, yeah, they were great kids, and it was a great group. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to get beat. You always want the season to end on the floor, and COVID took that away from us. So, all right. So, how about this year? We were basically halfway point in the season. Anything surprising you, or any biggies coming up that you want the crowd, the audience to look out for in terms of what's happening here in the near future? Any big games?
Back-to-back games Friday and Saturday that I'll be at that I think are really impactful. For especially, if you're looking for games outside of just the big time, Division I OCC schools. Friday night at 5:30, because Ohio State's playing 7:30, they moved it up. Bishop Watterson's hosting Bishop Hartley. That's a first place game. And it's the first game of the CCL, which
yes.
14. So there's 2 games every night. But CCL opener, Hartley's 7-1 coming on the road against Watterson, who's 7-0, which is kind of unusual for Lombardo Watterson teams. They typically will start slower and then, pick up their speed towards the end of the year. This team has started off like on fire, and last week they picked up wins over Westerville Central. Then they beat Pickerington North in overtime. It was Pick North's first loss at that time. So Watterson's playing really good ball. Obviously, Hartley has been incredible so far this year with only one loss to Lima Shawnee. So that game I'm excited about. It's 2 contrasting styles. Hartley wants to get out. They want to run. They want to move the ball around, play 1,000,000 miles per hour, where, Watterson's going to slow it down a little more, be very physical on the interior. So I'm excited to see those 2 teams and their styles match up. The last time I'd watched Hartley go on the road to Watterson, Hartley was undefeated at that time. Watterson ended up knocking them off. So we'll see if history can repeat itself, but that's a game and a 5:30 tip-off. So if it's over by 7, I can get home for kickoff. So excited for that one Friday night. And then Saturday night in what used to be the MSL, which is now CBL, you got Columbus Academy, who's 8-0, should be 9-0 by Saturday, taking on and hosting Bishop Reedy, who's 12-0. That game's also at 5:30 on Saturday. So both those games, Hartley and Watterson, I got Hartley at number 1, Watterson at number 2 in Division III. And then in my D5 rankings, I got Academy at 1, Bishop Reedy at 2. So back-to-back days, you get number 1 versus number 2 matchups. You get, very consequential, conference games as well in the CCL and the CBL. So those are the 2 big games I think people should look out for this weekend. And then in the OCC, you got some games tonight. Hilliard Bradley's hosting Olentangy Orange. Westerville North is taking on Big Walnut. And then I think a sleeper game is Groveport and Pickerington Central. Pickerington Central is a younger team this year, got a lot of guys that are new to varsity. Groveport's kind of more of a veteran team. So that's a big game, I think, for Groveport to prove that they can compete, with those elite teams in that conference. So if they're able to get that win tonight, that could mean I can see Groveport being a team in the OCC Buckeye that could upset somebody like a Reynoldsburg or a Newark, maybe one time. I don't think they can sweep either one of those teams, but that could be a team I think could, be an upset special type team. So those are some of the games, but those 2 ones between Reedy, Watterson, and Academy, and Reedy and Academy, and then Watterson and Hartley. Those are the 2 big ones that I'm looking forward to this weekend.
All right, those are some good ones. I had those circled as well as games that are coming up. Interesting. I have Reedy 1 over Academy. Just because, Reedy's just done, they've gone out, they lost quite a few kids from last year, and yet Tony's got them going. They're playing outstanding. They've beaten big schools all over the place. I think it's going to be, they get to play each other 2 times here in the next month and a half. So
and probably in the district finals too, which one thing I want to go off on a tangent. Why did the CDAB put the D5 district finals at Mount Vernon, you're probably going to have Afrocentric and Harvest Platte playing at Mount Vernon Nazarene. Like, whose decision was that? Why did they do that? Like,
Well, we are actually going to chat here one of these weeks about, probably as we get closer to the tournament, the sites, the way Max Preps and their ranking system sets things up. It is, the fact we've gone 7 divisions versus 4. Every coach has their own feeling about that in itself. So there's so many things that have changed this year. February 9th is going to be an interesting day for a lot of coaches when they see that draw. And you're right. Sites. We're going to the Coliseum, man. We haven't been to the Coliseum to see those dead floor
10 years.
In years, right. So
10 years. 2015 regional semifinals they hosted there. It was the last time we had a tournament game there. And I remember in 2015, like, the parents were complaining that the floor was too slippery. So I hope they upgraded that floor, because if it was too slippery 10 years ago, who knows what it might look like.
You're not the only one to have said that on this show, to be honest.
Hopefully there's not ice underneath it this year. All right. Kevin, what we got here?
Well, I want to know, when you go to those games, Zach, or outside of the 2 great games that I hope people just go out and watch. I mean, if you want to see great high school basketball, you need to just go out and see these kids work hard to be seen. But give us a couple of players that we might look for too this weekend. If somebody's, I don't know, on the west side, north side, south side, somebody that they may want to go see play, who maybe a sleeper that you know about that should be recruited that hasn't, or somebody that's on their way someplace.
Yeah. So, I mean, starting in that Hartley-Waterston game, Hartley's got, them or Westerville North, you could pick which one, but their backcourt duo with the Callaway brothers, Jaden and Jakai. Jakai is a junior. He's got multiple Division I offers. Jaden's a senior. He's committed to Gannon Division II University. It's always pretty good. Those 2 guys, they set the tone for Hartley. They're 2 of the most high IQ, intensity as far as, bringing it on the defensive end. Those guys going up against a Waterston team that has a stud senior guard in Landon Johnson, who used to be at Olentangy Liberty, transferred to Waterston last year. He's really taken that program to the next level. He's given them some dynamic guard play. But I think the battle in the front court is going to be the underrated battle in that matchup. Dom Thiedo is state champion football player, made one of the biggest plays, 4th down conversion to help them win that state championship game over Toledo Central Catholic, but also a very good basketball player. Him battling against Marcus Hemphill from Bishop Hartley in the front court. I think that if you love physical play, those 2 guys, they're tough as nails. They bring it every single night, and they're just very good basketball players. Marcus is a kid that doesn't care if he scores a bucket. He's been their leading scorer the last couple games, but he just makes so many plays on the defensive end as a rebounder. Really good passer out of the post as well for them. So that's going to be a great matchup in the front court. And then those guards that I mentioned as well. And then I think the individual matchup, there's 2 of them in that game between Academy and Reedy, starting, with their wing players. Reedy's got senior Caden Schaefer. He's going to Walsh next year to play with his brother Caleb. One of the better senior players. It's, I think, unheralded a little bit in the area. Him against the Buckeye Legacy junior guard Jason Singleton for Columbus Academy. I think that matchup on the wing, those 2 are going to be going at it. I've already talked to the Reedy coaches. That's who's guarding Singleton will be Schaefer. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup. And then in the backcourt, the sophomore guard for Reedy, Mike Daniels, whose dad is, this will be funny, Ray, whose dad's a West alum, was a city champion, but sent his kid to Reedy, and now he's coaching at Reedy. He's going to be going up against Theo Falkenhaim, the senior point guard for Columbus Academy that's committed D3. So those 2 matchups in that game as well. I think those are the ones you're going to want to watch out for. And then if you're going to a game tonight, Hilliard Bradley, Olentangy Orange, check out the freshman Kipton Norris for Hilliard Bradley. Yes, that's right. The Norris have another brother, number 4. It's just been funny every single time that one's graduating, one's coming right in the door. So they timed that really good for Brett to always have one of his kids for, 4 years at a time. So check that freshman out. I think he's one of the better freshmen in Ohio, but especially in Columbus.
Well, and we may drop after that, but definitely get out there and see Orange. Of course, Orange and Liberty, I think, what, Ray, they were on the 17th, I think they're playing.
Yeah, yep.
So that ought to be a huge one as well.
Yep, I'll be at that one. I'm looking forward to that battle as well because they both should be undefeated in the OCC.
I kind of
That's
like
great.
your job there, buddy. You know, you get to go to all these great games.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to look for you out there. And gosh, we really appreciate your being here today and taking a little bit out of your day. Cause I come from a family of teachers. I know how long those days are, even if they end around 3, it's a full day, man. And now you probably have stuff to grade or think about or plan.
No, I'm a gym teacher, so I'm already done.
Hey, easy
you know what,
on that now. Come on.
You're moving around all day, man. Don't discount that, man. That's
I know. That's why I'm sitting on the couch doing this interview right now.
Yeah. Well, hey, really, thanks a lot for taking your time today. Love to have you on again. Hopefully we can talk to you next week, but we'll get you when we can because we know, again, you're busy, but love to get your perspective on this stuff because it matters to a lot of folks out there. And as Ray said, you're laying the pathway for these kids to play at some of their dream spots. So really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you guys. It's a great program you guys are doing and love to be a part of it. So thank you.
All right. Hey, that's Zach Fleer, man. He's 270 Hoops. Go check him out. And by the way, if you're not on their social media, you're missing out on some of the great video all the time through the week. And they do other stuff too. And as we go on with Zach, we're going to talk about some of those other things that he gets into. And there's a lot of work that he does to help. I mean, he puts uniforms on kids. I mean, he just is doing so much good stuff around. So again, Zach, thanks. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll end this party for this inaugural week and get your thoughts through the week. Feel free to leave comments. Let us know who you'd like us to talk to, what you'd like us to do. I guarantee you're going to say, bring Zach back, and we're going to. So it's just that easy. Thanks again, brother.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Well, as we promised, we had some great folks on today. A couple of coaches that are certainly relevant in this year's battles to see who will rise to the top coming out of the Central District. And of course, Zach Fleer taking time for us. He has an encyclopedic memory. Maybe that's because he's fairly young and he can hold on to things better than we can. Although you had some great memories of being, a couple of West Siders out there. So that was really good. But Ray, what a great program to have these people along.
Yeah, I think we've set our bar quite high. I mean, Greg was just, oh, Lordy, and again, I have to say this. When you talk to coaches from Division I and Division II, sometimes they give you I want my guys to play different sports. I want them to be involved. But did they really mean it? I think Greg lives it. I think he loves his kids. And for all those parents, and we could have a program or two just dealing with this, that want your child to specialize. Greg's and at Olentangy Liberty, that's a program that they're welcome arms when it comes to going out there and playing multi-sports. And that was refreshing for me to hear that. Also the fact that he loves, competing against, he doesn't duck anyone. They're playing people. And maybe he's playing people because he has people. But bottom line, he's not ducking anybody with this schedule. And he hasn't in the past few years I'm aware of. So my hat's off to him because, he's doing it. And those kids ought to just cherish the time they have with him, spending the time and competing against the very best in the state of Ohio.
Well, looking at our conversation with Jeff, what I was intrigued by, Ray, is that even though you guys were competing all the time, Academy and Grandview, you guys formed a special bond. What it shows is that behind the scenes, because he's a great coach, but he wasn't afraid to talk about how he's leaned on you a little bit and gotten some information. And I think that really talks a lot about the fact that this is a community of coaches that really understand why you guys do what you do and that you're trying to get the best out of these kids. And that means a lot of times working together or bouncing ideas off each other. And that for me was really intriguing to hear that conversation.
Well, now here's a true story, and Jeff and I laugh about this. And again, I was a tennis coach at Grandview. All right. I drove a great van most of the time. I did actually, though, learn the game as I went on, and I leaned on him for tennis information, bounced ideas off of him as well, even though we were totally outclassed.
Yeah.
But I love the way his kids on the tennis court. And again, these are just little things you pick up about a Jeff Warstler program. But I love the way his kids reacted, how they handled themselves. And I'm telling you, one of the funniest things and most enjoyable matches that my kids ever had is I had Robbie Kingston and Phil Lovegrove, two players who were, if you had 8 sports going on, they would have played all 8 sports.
Great athletes. Yeah.
They were great athletes, just phenomenal kids.
Yeah.
And they played the number 1 seeded team in the district in the second round of the tennis tournament. And the winner was going on to the districts. Well, we knew we had no prayer. I mean, and the way the academy kids, they were able to enjoy it there was nothing embarrassing at all about the match. It was such a healthy environment. And I walked away from that and I just said, that's just the way things should be. You know, this is a sport that you should enjoy. You compete as hard as you can. And both teams did. They just I think they may have let us win a game. And I say that in total respect of my guys, you know,
Yeah. But their attitude is not a surprise if you know Jeff and what he does.
There you go.
In basketball.
He would never allow, and again, in tennis and maybe other sports as well, it's unfair for me to just pinpoint tennis in this, but you know, a lot of times you get kids out there that are country club kids and they're playing kids who aren't, and we didn't. So, and they act like they're a little special because of it, and they get a little frustrated if you make a good shot. You never saw that attitude out of Jeff's teams. Now, here's the connection to basketball. The first time we played one of Jeff's teams when we moved back into the league, because we were moving around a little bit, we had a pretty nice squad and we lit them up. We got them pretty good. And that was like a Friday night game. And then about Tuesday of that week, I get a phone call from Jeff. And he asked me for my philosophy and what I thought I should do with his team. He goes, man, you've been doing this for a long time. And I thought to myself, the guts of this guy calling an opponent. I mean, I was like, and then all of a sudden I thought to myself, you know what? This guy's as good a dude as there is out here.
Yeah, I mean, that's
he's
incredible.
Asking me for help. Isn't that what it's all about? So that's when our bond started. It was created, and we became very, very close friends from that point on. And I want to say, I hope they didn't beat us at the end of the year that year. You know, when we played them the second time. I hope I didn't.
Nobody knew though. Nobody knew. You were okay.
But they certainly got us their fair share. That's for sure.
Oh, well, they've been good teams. Yeah, for sure. And how about Zach Fleer jumping on with us and I mean, he just got it all in his head, man.
And Zach has just got everything going on. You know, he's teaching. He's got young kids. He doesn't need this. You know, this is you and I, and he's willing to hop on board and be very generous. And we are so fortunate. If this thing takes off, which I pray it does for us, but also, you know, having him on board and these guys helping out, you know, again, you said something to me about making a Hall of Fame. No idiot in their right mind believes it made the Hall of Fame by themselves.
Oh, right.
There's a lot of good people. How many assistant coaches, players, all that were involved in it. And if this thing takes off, it's going to be the same way. We're going to have Jeff, Greg, we're going to have Zach and all the other coaches. We've got Tim Casey coming up next week. Coach Spears out of South coming up to talk to us as well. I mean, we're going to have outstanding Central Ohio coaches get involved. And And again, they're all doing it for the right reason, and that is promote Central Ohio basketball and these young men.
And we're going to help them. And we're going to,
well, we'll do our best.
We're the sandbox that everybody wants to play in. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I know before we go, this program will be a little bit longer because we're kind of setting the tone, for what we're trying to do, a little bit of explanation. But one thing we're going to do each week is I know you and the level of research that you did for games and how much film you watched and how you applied that to the plan. But I know you've been looking at some of these teams around Central Ohio, and you put together a little bit of a list of, for right now, where you think people are positioned. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, and this is my way of looking at the teams and try to predict what's going to happen February 9th when the teams get together for their tournament draw.
Right.
So, there's league play, which is what you deal with right now. And then the second season, which is going to be the tournament. This year, 7 divisions versus 4. We'll get into that. But I put together 7 polls, 5 teams in each of these polls. And again, there's going to be movement up and down, but they're Division 1.
And this is for the Central District. That's what we're talking about.
Central District, right. These are the teams that will be drawing come February 9th in Central Ohio.
Right.
Okay. And Division 1 and 2, there are 64 teams in each of those 2 divisions, which is a far cry from the 4 divisions and the close to 200 teams that they had back then. So it's a little bit different. But Olentangy Orange is my number 1. And some might look at that and say, why not Reynoldsburg? I think Orange has had maybe a more impressive few wins than Reynoldsburg. Reynoldsburg's 9-0. They've had Ignatius, Richmond Heights, and Groveport. Newark's right there. All right, Newark, how about that for a tradition? 9-1. Then we get into our Olentangy Liberty. They're 7-2. They just beat Dublin Kaufman last night. And then Delaware Hayes, a Final Four team from last year, they're 8-2. So they graduated quite a few, but they've got a couple ponies playing well for them right now, and they're starting to put it together. They've had some nice wins lately. Division 2, we've got Westerville North. They've had wins against 2 quality wins, especially Delaware Hayes of all, but that was early. And then Richmond Heights. Richmond Heights seems like getting into our area. They played a lot of Central Ohio, bigger schools.
Yeah, we talked about them a little bit in our interviews this time, and they play everybody. They just
Big Walnuts up there.
Yeah.
Big Walnuts up there is my number 2, and it's between them and New Albany, but Big Walnut beat New Albany. New Albany's playing pretty well right now, though. Northland and Licking Heights rounds up D2 programs. D3 and what a gauntlet. Wow. You got Hartley, who beat Northland, who was undefeated at the time. Hamilton Township, undefeated at the time. And they have, coming up this week, and Zach made mention of it, they play Watterson, who's undefeated with wins against Pick North and River Valley as their highlight. DeSales is up there. They just beat Dublin Kaufman and Licking Heights. Hamilton Township and Walnut Ridge rounds it up. Ridge is now 7-3. Division 4, sort of a surprise team in my mind. Heath, 9-0, but wins against Johnstown and, before mentioned, Licking Heights. River Valley, 7-2, with wins against Alder and Marion Harding, who's a pretty solid squad. East is sitting there. At number 3, London and Jonathan Alder make up the top 5 in Division 4. Then we get to another gauntlet. And this is one we are very familiar with at Grandview because these are the people we played. Number 1, undefeated and about ready to play another undefeated team this weekend. Bishop Reedy's number 1, wins over Marion Harding, St. Charles, Marysville, Franklin Heights. You name it, they beat them. Academy beat Dayton Dunbar to start the year. All right, so that's a great win for them. They're 8-1. Then you've got, you got Afrocentric again. Afrocentric again. 8-1, I believe, with Ridge and Thomas Worthington as 2 of their better wins. By the way, Ray,
before you keep going there, we'll have an interview that we did at Afrocentric that'll come up on our
Coach Bate.
well.
Coach Bates, that was a
Yeah.
quite enjoyable interview.
He's a great interview. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
So go back over that from your one down in that.
Okay, so once again, we're going to go Reedy Academy, Afrocentrics 3, and Harvest Prep is 4. And then the 5th, how about this? Fairbanks. They're 10-1. All
The
right.
Panthers.
So
Yeah.
they're 10-1, and they can't get into the top 2 or 3. And I believe there's 2 teams that get out of that district. So it'll be an interesting draw. At Division 6, Cardington, 8-2. Having a nice year. They've beaten Northmore, Pleasant, Liberty Union, and they just beat Centerburg, who I had as the number 4 team. Grove City Christian, Grandview Heights, those 2 are neck and neck. The thing about Grandview Heights, they're 5-6 right now, so you might dismiss them, but man, do they play a murderous type of schedule. They are playing. Their league is just so difficult for them. So if Coach Galoni, Coach Overmeyer can keep their heads above water come tournament time, they're going to be difficult to knock out. They've got some nice young bigs. And then Tree of Life's in there. They're 6-1, 7-1 at this point. Finally, the last one, Division 7. 7 divisions, unbelievable. Patriot Prep. They just had a great win against Fisher Catholic. Shekinah Christian, 8-1. They beat Tree of Life, and they've got a quality group. Fisher Catholic, Morrill Ridgedale, who for the last 10 years has really struggled. Right now, Morrill Ridgedale is 8-2. We don't know a lot about them because they play in a league that's totally out of Central Ohio, but they're having. And then you've got Northside Christian, who's been really good the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, no, they've been very.
There's your top 5 in each of the 7 divisions. And people, if you have some issues with that, please let us know.
Yeah, comment.
I'm almost close to open to discussion.
That's why that's the fun, right? Is talking about who can beat whom and where we're going to go with this thing. Now, we will be talking about as things go on. There are a few issues that we'll address as the weeks come up. Number 1 is the way that people are going to be ranked here by Max Preps. That seems to be a topic of discussion among coaches. We'll talk about those 7 divisions and we had a little bit in our interviews today about what that means to have fewer people in your group in the Central District. And then we'll talk about the return to the fairgrounds. A little more depth. Maybe we'll even do the program at the fairgrounds. We'll see if they'll let us.
Oh boy, wait a second! I got a palm tree in the background. I'm going to give up the fairground. I'm going to the fairgrounds instead of the palm tree.
You got to come up here once in a while just to check your mail. I'll get you when you're up here. I'll make sure that works.
They have electricity there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can do, but it'll be fun. But hey, I got to tell you, as these go, and I've been doing this for a while in various places. This was a lot of fun. And I think we're going to, I think people are going to get some good information that they might not get otherwise. So we hope that they'll join us. Yeah, for sure. I mean, your thoughts about this initial run?
Well, we talked about this again last spring, especially, and we were sitting there. Okay, so what are some things we could do here to promote boys basketball? And I had no idea what this was going to look like and how this was going to evolve. And you and I had, we had a few bumps along the way, but I mean, if this is the way it's going to be, again, you get to do stuff that you enjoy doing.
Oh yeah.
And at this point, this was, I mean, my brother said, "Man, you're putting a lot of time into this, aren't you?" And I'm going, "Yeah, I am." I said, "But I kind of like it."
Yeah, I know. I'm the same. I mean, it's for, you said it right before. If you're just having fun, it's not like working. So let's keep going. We'll have another show next week. Might get a little shorter because, we've done our intros and all that, but whatever we do, we're going to bring some good info and, maybe I can convince Ray to come back and get off that lanai for just a little bit.
Well, or screened in porch, one of the two.
One of the two. All right. Hey, thanks, man. This has been great. And we will, we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you when we drop the next one, which we hope will be next week. Bye now.